So in the last video, we took a look at the revolution that writing created. Now, if we accept that vocal communication started about 2 million years ago, and that writing developed about 5,000 years ago, then that's a massive gap of 1,995,000 years. The second revolution would take place in the year 1440, about 3,500 years after writing began, which is a fraction of the amount of time between vocal communication and written communication. Why the shrinking gap? Well, remember, with more efficient communication, it allows much more sharing and storing of information, which makes the spreading of ideas that much easier. This revolution was in the form of the printing press, which was invented in Europe by Johannes Gutenberg. But did you know that he wasn't the first? Movable type printing presses actually began in China some 6 centuries before Gutenberg, and they spread to Japan and Korea. But due to the complexity of their alphabets, mass printing was expensive and cumbersome. Gutenberg began printing copies of the Bible in the mid-15th century, which made the sharing of this text available to a lot more people than ever before. By the way, his first print run was printed on treated calf skin, which required the slaughtering of more than 7,600 baby cows. Before the printing press, Bibles were produced using the art of calligraphy by monks. This was not only time-consuming, but really, really expensive, meaning that only royalty and the uber-wealthy and senior members of the church really had access to those Bibles. That limited access also gave them control over the flow of information. As soon as more and more people learned to read and began reading the Bible for themselves, this created a fracture in the Christian church, which controlled most of Europe at the time. In 1501, Pope Alexander VI even threatened excommunication for anyone who printed any manuscripts without the church's approval. 20 years later, books from John Calvin and Martin Luther spread all over Europe, bringing into reality what Pope Alexander had feared. Martin Luther then famously nailed his 95 Theses to the door of the Catholic Church, marking the schism that would create Protestants as a separate entity from the Catholic Church, and subsequently through Europe into revolution. Printing presses then spread all over Western Europe, and the first newspaper showed up in 1601, ushering in a viral spread of information, which cemented the printing press as the second revolution in communication. In our next video, we'll take a look at the third revolution in communication, which happened only 400 years after the second, reducing the amount of time between revolutions by a factor of 10.